So we're gonna study now chapter number, content number five. What does a government play roles in an economy as a producer and employer? When it comes to as a producer, they provide essential goods and services like healthcare and education. These are basic stuff that government provides to the community. But they also supply something called merit goods. Merit good is some type of goods which you cannot exclude in the market. You can exclude or you can take it or you cannot take it. It's like education which has been given or health care again, but it will not bring a negative externality. Now you might ask me what is negative externality. So let me remind you, externality means some sort of third party is getting affected without the consumption or intervention with the business. So if the government is providing some sort of health or education part, the people though they consume it, they will not, it will not harm them. It will always increase the level of the economy and it will boost the economy to a higher point. That's what we say merit goods. But supply public goods, this is only supplied by the government because public good can be supplied by anyone. Supply the public good. Public good is type of good you cannot exclude. You need to consume it, you though you like it or not. If you are going on a road, if you see a street light, you can't say that I can walk on the street light because government has given. So you like it or not, you need to go on the street light pathway. And also, if you are going on a road, if the government officer stops you and asks your license, if you pick me, you can't ask the government officer, "Are you my uncle? Are you my father?" To ask my license, you can't ask like that because public good is something which is borne by the government. They incur huge cost on that. So you like it or not, you need to accept the rules and regulation and the goods what is given to the environment. Again, it will not bring a negative externality. It will bring a positive externality. Then what they, as a producer, they control the natural monopolies. They will not give the railway department. They will not give the water, electricity, these type of things very essential to people. So they will not give it to private sector because if private sector takes these type of things, they can set the prices they want on the market. So that will become a problem to the consumer. Then as an employer, people who work directly for the government as civil servant, example tax collectors. So as an employer, they give a lot of job opportunities to people. Employees in public sector secure employment, state pension. So they give a good job opportunity and they ensure that these people will be long lasting for a long period. And state pension after age of 60 or 50 or 55 in Sri Lanka, they'll be able to get a pension amount they can consume it for a prolonged period of time. Money earned by government employees is mainly spent in national economy. So what is money earned by government employees is mainly spent in national economy? People who are earning the income, they will love to consume the products of government because they think that this government has given them the income, so they should spend in government itself. So now you know, as a producer and as an employer, what does the government does? Then we move on to government things. What is the main objectives of a government? Achieve a low and stable rate of inflation in general level of prices. They want to keep the inflation as low as possible and to maintain the inflation. You should not say that you should always keep it in deflation. We learned it under content number six, but under content number five, you need to understand that when you are speaking about inflation, you should always keep it stable. Achieve high and stable level of employment, low unemployment. So they always need to ensure that every one of the countries should get job opportunities. Encourage economic growth in national output and income. They should also see that the country is growing towards a different aspect and the country should grow. That's what we say as economic growth. Encourage trade and secure favorable balance of international transactions. They should ensure that the money should inflow to the country, whereas money should not outflow from the country. And additional objectives, they should reduce the level of poverty. As a dot in content six, absolute poverty and relative poverty, people try to reduce the level of poverty in the country. And inequalities in income and wealth. So they also want to reduce the level of inequalities when it comes to income and wealth, reduce pollution and waste sustainable growth. So they want to reduce the level of pollution and waste and sustainable growth. So what is reduce pollution and waste? So they want to ensure that people should not harm the environment. Sustainable growth means you can say so sustainable growth means you can say that people should not harm the environment completely. There are three dimensions in sustainable development. So social, culture, social, economical, and environmental. So when people are consuming the product, they should not harm the society, economy, and the environment. So all these three things should be ensured under sustainable growth. And when people consuming product, they should also keep the products for future generations to consume as a part of additional objective of government goes to. Demand side policies is like what type of ways the government can increase the demand for particular products is what we say demand side policy. So they will take certain steps. Let me explain you this part. Expansion in the fiscal policy, as I explained you on sixth content, fiscal policy has two parts. One is revenue, and the other one is expenditure. And the revenue, government revenue, what are the ways the government will increase the revenue, and the government expenditure, what are the ways the government will reduce the level of increase the level of expenditure and reduce the level of expenditure. So we are going to speak about expansionary fiscal policy, reducing taxes to boost demand, so employment and output rises may be used to reduce recession. Give me a second, guys. Let's say the expansionary fiscal policy is all about as an expansion fiscal policy is all about reducing the level of taxes and increasing the. Give me a second. So when it comes to expansion fiscal policy, it's about the government will try to reduce the level of taxes and the government will try to increase the level of expenditure in the country. Then of course, it is a part of expansion fiscal policy. Reducing taxes to boost demand, so employment output prices may be used to reduce recession. This is a temporary way they will try to reduce the level of taxes in the country and they will try to increase the level of expenditure in the country. Contractionary fiscal policy, what they do if they want to increase the, now if you see here, the other way they can increase the demand side policy, they can affect increase taxes to reduce demand. So employment and output rises may be used to reduce price inflation. So if they want to decrease the level of price inflation, they will decrease the level of taxes and they will limit the level of spending. So if they don't spend and if they increase the level of taxes, then of course it will become as contractionary fiscal policy. Then the term you need to know contractionary monetary policy is all about it's about inflation by increasing interest rates charged by the central bank. This means commercial banks will also raise interest to encourage more savings. So why? What do they do? Actually, monetary policy is all about controlling the money supply of the country. They can control the money supply by increasing the level of interest rate in the country or by setting the reserve requirement. But for your exams, just remember interest rate. With interest rate, you can control the monetary policy, the money supply. If they increase the level of interest rates, okay, if they increase the level of interest rate, you know what would happen in an economy? The people will go and try to save the money in a particular aspect. If they save the money in a particular, I mean, if they save the entire money, so actually, if they increase the level of interest, whatever people will go and deposit money in the banks, and the money supply will decrease. If money supply decrease, the demand for the products will decrease. So if they want to increase the demand for the product, expansion in monetary policy they will go through. Maybe used during a recession to an employment buying cutting interest rate. If they want people to invest more onto the projects, what they will do is they will decrease the level of interest rate. If they reduce the level of interest rate, people will take the money out of the bank, they will spend on day-to-day activities and they will even buy the stuffs what they really want to purchase. Then that will increase the level of monetary policy. That will increase the level of money supply and that will increase the demand for the products on the particular market. Then we have the government can use instruments to increase the level of supply side policies. Now we spoke about demand side policies. We use four patterns in demand side policies: contraction monetary policy, expansion monetary policy, contraction fiscal policy, and expansionary monetary fiscal policy. Now let's see what are the ways they can increase the level of supply side policy. So supply side policies aim to increase economic growth by raising productive potential of an economy and increasing the total supply of goods and services will be required more labor and other resources to be employed. It will reduce market price and provide more goods and services to export. So actually they want to increase the level of supply. If they really want to increase the level of supply, they need to go through supply side policies. What are the ways they can increase the level of supply? One, they will do tax incentives. They will not charge taxes from certain business. Like they will encourage certain business, will not charge tax. You do the business when you can earn a good income, you ask the return. Reducing taxes on profit and small firms can encourage enterprise. It can also encourage investments in the new incentives. We have learned what the government will try to do. Subsidies, grants, production cost and help firms fund research and development of new technologies. Government gives some sort of cash from their hands in order to increase the level of production. They want to reduce the production cost for the certain firms. They know that if the firm is successful, their firms will represent their country's name in different countries. And of course, it will bring a lot of brand goodwill to that particular country. So they will try to do sort of grant and ask them, you go ahead, you are doing great in the market. Education and training, teaching new existing workers skills to make more productive. So when they train the employees in certain firms, they know that these employees will be doing the production in a good way and they will reduce the level of wastage. So if they reduce the level of wastage, again the supply will increase. When it comes to labor market regulation, include minimum wage laws to encourage more people into work and legislation to restrict the power of trade unions. So they will try to not to give the power to trade unions, because if trade unions take the power, then of course they will somehow increase the level of demand for people, and they will increase the demand for salaries, and it will exploit the government's expectations. So what they will do, they will reduce the level of power of trade unions, and they will try to give the basic wage employees should need. So people will be happy to work because they are getting at least the minimum wage rate. Certain companies pay less than the minimum wage rate. So that's a very bad part for a company to survive. Then we have competition policy, regulations that outlaw unfair trading practices by monopolies and other large powerful firms. So they will restrict the large number of firms in the market. Competition policy speaks about like certain companies like monopolies can they can do unfair trade practices. They can charge higher prices near consumers, and they can even send out small firms entering into the market. So this government, what they will do, they will not allow these big companies to take over the entire market. They limit the restrictions, and they might even charge taxes to limit the level of control these small firms are having around the market. Then we have free trade agreements. Removing barriers to international trade allow countries to trade their goods and services more freely and cheaply. So they will make some sort of relationship between different countries, and they will allow their country product, our country product, to be traded in other different countries. And finally, deregulation, removing old, unnecessary, and costly rules and regulations on business activities. That will give some sort of understanding of business. They will be very satisfied that almost deregulation speaks about that unnecessarily removing all the rules and regulation means they'll be very happy that they will be supplying more goods, because now rules and regulations are not high, so they will be producing more goods in the market. Then we move on to the next part, conflicting aims. What are the problems the government will go through when it comes to the expectations? Spending more money to stimulate growth can lead to rising prices because of increased demand. Now, when governments spend more money on economic growth, people will have increase in income, so they will demand a lot of goods. This is the first problem. If spending is reduced to stop inflation, this will lead to a fall in growth. Though if they don't spend on the day-to-day consumption, if they don't spend on the if the economy is or is a growth, then of course the country will fall down to a certain point. The government tries to create full employment, labor becomes increasingly scarce. So if they give everyone the job opportunities, then the companies cannot demand the laborers whenever they want. They can't take for even employees for agricultural work. They can't take for service industries. Certain industry will find very hard to take employees from that own particular country, and these people will demand a high salary. Employers must compete more strongly to attract labor. So as every people have a job opportunity, employers, the companies should give good attraction package to get these people into work. The raised wages lead to wage inflation. When they ask demand increment in salary, this will increase the level of inflation on wages. So because they will ask a high salary, and they'll spend a lot on the salary what they have earned. If the government tries to redistribute income, richer workers may feel that they are unfairly penalized for working hard and may decide to migrate. So when government charges a high amount on the people who are earning very big income, then of course the workers, the rich people will feel that government is charging a very high tax on us and giving to poor. So if they are charging very unfairly, this is my dedication and hard work. How come government take all my money and give to poor people? So they'll move out of the country. That will reduce the level of entrepreneurs in the country. This may slow down economic growth. Then we have reasons to tax. Okay, let's see one by one reason to tax. Reasons of tax: to finance public expenditure, building schools and infrastructure. Government takes the money to do these certain things. They want to spend on the public. They want to build schools. They also want to make infrastructure. To discourage certain activities, taxes on cigarettes, like to put taxes, they want to stop the level of cigarettes coming into the country. To discourage import of goods, tariffs and import taxes and can be levied as a percentage of value of imports, or set tax on each item. They want to limit the level of import coming into the country, so they will put taxes. To redistribute income from the rich to poor. From the rich, they will charge a higher income tax and give to the poor. That's also a way of charging taxes and giving it to the poor people to achieve other macroeconomic objectives. As we spoke, the government has a lot of objective economic, like unemployment, price stability, full economic growth, fair income distribution. All these are economic objectives. So one by one to complete, they need taxes. So now, according to your textbook, there are three type of taxes you need to know. This has been tested most of the time in your exams. progressive tax, regressive tax, and proportional tax. So, what is progressive tax? When the tax rate increases with income, higher the tax. So, if a person is earning $1,000 and his taxes now, I'll take the Excel sheet to explain this. If a person is earning, maybe for example, if he earn $1,000, his tax will be 10%, and if he is earning $2,000, his tax will be 20%. If he is earning $3,000, his earnings, his taxes will be 30%. So charging on the incomes, when the income is increasing, if the taxes are also increasing, we say that's progressive tax. Then what do we say? The other type of tax we have, regressive tax says that tax rate falls with income, higher income, lower tax. Now let me take the same example. Now I'm going to take the same example. Now this is a progressive which I have taken. I'm going to take now regressive. So I'll write here progressive and how a regressive works. Okay. So regressive works when you are high income, like lower income, higher taxes, maybe 25% when you are earning high, 20% when you earn 2,000, and 10% when you earn 3,000. So the more income you earn, the more taxes you pay. The government does this. Actually, you have the potential to earn more. So why do you earn more? Earn high. So they can motivate. But some people will think government is unfairly charging from poor people. Like there are also people can think. And the next type of taxes is what we say proportionate tax. Whatever the income it is going to, they are going to earn, the tax base is going to be same. So it's going to be 10%. Whatever the earnings you're going to make $1,000, $2,000, or $3,000, you're going to earn the same income what you have. So that's what we say progressive, regressive, and proportionate. So examples of progressive taxes they are given. This has been listed in many MCQs. So progressive taxes is a part of income tax. Regressive tax is an indirect tax because higher the income, lower the tax means most of the time it will be on value added taxes. Income tax, like the more income you earn, the more tax you pay is an income tax. Proportional tax, everyone pays some effective tax, like corporate income tax, everyone pays the same. So then we move on to the type of taxes in your textbook. Direct taxes levied on income or wealth of an individual company. So when a person is earning an income, what are the type of taxes he will be charged? Personal income tax levied on income including interest payment on savings, payroll tax including personal income taxes and social security contributions. Then from the earnings he has made, he will pay payroll, personal income tax. From all the income he has generated, he will pay a tax called personal income tax. Payroll tax from the company he earns, he need to pay a small tax. That's what we say, payroll tax. Corporation tax says that levied on companies' profits, smaller companies have lower tax to encourage enterprise. So what is corporation tax? Like companies will be charged the tax on the income of their own. We say as corporation tax. Capital gain tax, tax on any gain in value from sale of assets held by individual companies. Now, for example, you take an asset for $1,000 and you sell it for $2,000. You earn the profit of 1,000 from the asset you had. This gap, when you earn an income from $1,000 to $2,000, that income of $1,000, they will charge a tax. That's what we say capital gains tax. Transfer taxes apply to transfer of assets from one person to another. When you transfer your property from one place to one person to another, we say it as transfer taxes. So they have advantages as well as disadvantages. Give me a second. So let's see, guys, what are the advantages of having what to say? What are the advantages of having a tax when it comes to what to say direct taxes? Advantages: major source of tax revenue. Many are progressive, help reduce inequalities, take into account people's ability to pay. So that's the good thing when it comes to the direct taxes. Direct taxes will understand why, how much people are earning from that, how much people's money we can give towards the consumers who couldn't even pay a price to live. Disadvantages can be if you charging income taxes can reduce work incentive. The money which they are earning, the whole amount will be going to come a big part of the portion. So people will be very dissatisfied. Taxes on profit reduce profit available for reinvestment. When companies, small companies are charged with high taxes, these companies will not have money again to reinvest. Can cause tax evasion. Tax evasion means completely they will not show the accounts to the government because government is charging high tax, so they will do frauds. So this is a very bad disadvantage. So indirect taxes, they have few taxes in your books. Added to price of goods and services. We say it as ad valorem taxes levied as percentage of price of goods and services necessities. Food may be exempt. So they are seeing the basic taxes when it comes to indirect taxes. There are ad valorem tax like the basic necessities goods and day-to-day services. We can also say as value added tax like day-to-day services, they will put some sort of tax without the knowledge you pay for that, but that particular product has a tax on the money you have paid. Tariffs, custom duties apply to prices of imported goods protects local firms from overseas competition. So when you are bringing the product from a different country, then they will charge indirect tax, reducing the level of imports in the country. Excise duties apply to specific goods, cigarettes, alcohol, and also petrol has excise duties. Why petrol has an excise duty? Because these all three can harm the environment fully. Okay. Then when it comes to user charges such as tolls for a bridge motorway, this is also part of taxes because they can charge an indirect way of like tolls for bridge and motorway. So what is tolls for bridge and motorway? Like whenever you are passing through one bridge to another gate, the government will charge a tax. They are using the highway. So even in Sri Lanka, we have this highway charge. They are moving from one point to another, you will be charged an amount. Then we move on next part, advantages. They are cheap for the government to collect indirect taxes. It's very easy for the government to get the money when they want. Wide tax base, it's a very big tax you can charge from everyone, and we used to discourage consumption production. If you really want to consume the product, I can put a tax. The government can put a tax, and they can reduce the level of consumption you are making. So disadvantages: cost of collecting taxes, cost to businesses, they are regressive. Tax revenues are less certain. They add to price inflation. Can be used to discourage consumption and production. Disadvantages are cost of collecting taxes falls to business. They are regressive. Tax revenues are less certain. They add to price inflation. So it's very hard for a government to collect the level of taxes from the businesses because indirect taxes are widely charged. So the government will not be able to capture everyone's income. They are regressive as higher the income, lower the taxes. Some people will feel very disadvantaged. Like only rich people are being charged a less price. Tax revenues are less certain. It's not that predictable. It's somewhat predictable, and sometimes the price can go up and decrease. They add to price inflation. So when government increase the level of taxes, producers cannot cope up with the price, so they will increase the level of prices on the market. So it will increase the level of inflation. So moving on to the next part of this content, government influence regulation. Rules imposed by government backed up by penalties can be laws governing actions of private firms and individuals. Inspection by qualified inspectors make sure that the business are compliant with regulation. Failure to do so can mean fines, loss of license. Examples of regulation. So, what are the ways the government can put some rules and regulations? Is what we have to see. And why are they setting up this type of rules and regulation? Let me see. Let me explain you one by one. So, number one, methods of production. If the companies are not producing the products, like if they are wasting the product, management of waste pollution, rules protecting health safety of workers. So they ensure the government see that regulation on methods of production to ensure that have they wasted the product, how they have protected the environment, how long they have satisfied the. Okay, let's move on to the point we want to discuss. It says that methods of production. It's about management of waste pollution, rules protecting health safety of workers. So what you need to do is like if the government can put a regulation on what they are producing and actually are they setting up properly when it comes to production, the government will be able to understand are they coping up the regulation or not. Setting up a new business, these are very easy things to understand. Paperwork for filing, in such as filling in such as rules protecting shareholders and paying tax. So are they completely following the rules and regulations when they set up a business? And product standard, how much quality is the product? How they put product labeling of contents of product? Are they giving the correct information on the product what they sell? And again, they have given disclosure of information. Company must produce reports to shareholders like every year financial statements should be prepared, like income statements and balance sheets. So are they preparing it and it or not? Those are the things also should be reviewed. Supply of harmful product, health warnings on cigarettes. So like whenever you are having cigarette pack, you might see a brand image showing from the government that this product is not good for health, but still people are using. I don't know why. But it's a part of a government regulation. The government has done a lot of ways to stop the level of to say stop the level of consumption on certain aspects. Government may introduce laws and regulation known as compulsion policy and can involve. So what are the ways the government will impose rules and regulation in under the term called compulsion policy? Imposing fines on firms who abuse market power. So whoever taking the market in their control and doing cheating the customers, they will be fined and penalties will be imposed. Forcing oligopolies and monopolies to break up into smaller competing firms. Like oligopolies means only few firms are controlling the entire market, so they will break these few firms into certain segments they will say to sell out the companies because three or four firms are entirely controlling the whole market. It's a big problem to the country because these four people will get together and set a price. They will not reduce the level of price, though it is cheaply made. Monopolies is like one supplier selling to the whole market. They say them as price maker. They will set a price and they will not reduce the price again on the total market. Setting maximum prices, firms can charge customers. Taking monopolies into public ownership. So government will set maximum prices, firms can charge customers. You can't go more than that. Even this during this pandemic, Sri Lankan government informed that you should not charge more than this price in rice, 1,050 rupees or something. But still, they charge 1,000 to 1,300 because they all are charging a very bad price. But people need price, they can't say anything. Black market price, they pay and they buy the product. Taking monopolies into public ownership. So, if there's one firm is controlling the whole railway industry, they will buy that firm. Government will invest huge amount of money and they'll buy the firm because they don't want the firms taking the control of whole community. Advantages: improving efficiency and redistribute income, regulate firms where there are monopolies, a limit effect of externalities, possible to strike balance between interest and of private firms and consumers. So, what are the advantages of having a competition policy? Actually, it will redistribute the income towards poor and the people who have income. And regulates firms like you will have control of the monopolies, what are they doing and what they are not doing, and what they should do and what they should not do will also be reviewed. Limit effect of externalities. As they have been always monitored, these firms will not affect the environment. Possible to strike balance between interest of private firms and consumers. So they will be able to come back to the same position, or they can they can manage the profit and consumers motive. They can manage the profit objective as well as non-profit objective. So this is why competition policy is needed. But disadvantage: over-regulate. Always seeing regulation means always seeing supervision what they are doing. Over-regulation, spend too much money and time complying with the regulation, can't concentrate on running business. If government spends all the time in seeing what businesses are doing, the government will not have time to think about how much they should invest on the country. So they will lose the control completely by seeing one place. They will completely miss out the part of this. We were discussing lots of competitors because of cost of complying with rules and regulation. If the government has a lot of rules and regulations, people will not be able to start a business in that particular country because they'll feel that it's too costly to start a business and they will not spend their cash on investing in that country. So investment will decrease in that particular country. So regulation also will decrease the level of investment. Too much over regulation is also not good for a government. Then we have the last two parts of government regulation. One is subsidies, incentives provided by the government to individuals and households to carry out desired activities. Other reasons for subsidies include. So what is subsidies? As I explained to you, subsidies are like some sort of grants given by the government to individual firms to carry out the basic necessities because they might think that these products should ever last for a long future, or they might think that domestic firms should ensure to survive for a long future than the multinational companies. So other reasons for subsidies include to encourage the production of goods of natural importance, to encourage development of new products and industries, to provide support for industries that are in decline and that are major employers of labor, to protect domestic industries against foreign competition. So these are four reasons why government try to save giving subsidies. They wanted to increase the production because that is very important to the country's survival. They want new products into industries, so they will encourage development and by giving certain lands. They will ask farmers to agriculture if agriculture is very important. They provide support for certain industry which is declining, and they consider that the industries should be very important for people's survival again. And also they will help the small firms to compete with the foreign companies around the world. So these are the basic stuff. Subsidies is given. Subsidies is a grant or some sort of help given by the government to carry out the business transaction without stopping. Then we have taxation. Taxes discourage certain activities and raise tax revenue. Is a cost to business and cause supply curve shift left. Incidence of tax refers to who pay the majority of taxes. So why a government charges taxes to reduce, not to reduce the level of products which is produced in the country, not only to reduce the level of products which is produced in the country, also to increase the level of government's revenue, they will put some sort of tax. So they are given you two incidents when it comes to subsidy. You guys need to know subsidy will increase the level of supply in an economy. Then moving on to tax, I'll just show you how a subsidy chart look like, guys. Yeah. when it comes to subsidy. This is the chart. You can see here, supply is increasing, your price will decrease because when supply is increasing, suppliers will when subsidy is given by the government, suppliers will be very happy to reduce their price because their cost is covered, maybe rent is covered by the government, so their cost of production will be lower. So they can actually satisfy a lot of consumers on the market. That's what we say subsidies. It is not related to demand. Subsidy is related to supply. Guys, so supply will increase. Again, tax is also related to supply. So moving on to the content, we want to discuss what tax can do on a market. Now you see here, taxes discourage certain activities and raise revenue for government. And also taxes says that it is a cost to business and cause supply curve shift left. Incident of tax refers to who pays the majority of a tax. Elastic goods. Incidence of tax mainly falls on seller. Inelastic good incidence of tax mainly falls on buyer. So taxation can actually help a though what you say the tax has been increased, firm will still have income when it comes to income in elastic good. Elastic good means it will fall on the seller's side. Now let me see how it happens, guys. Now see here, when the curves of the demand curve, you might see when this is an inelastic demand curve, when they are increasing the supply price, now it was this price, now they increase the taxes, so because of the taxes supply reduced, so now price is this one, this area. So earlier it was this particular point. You see my spotlight, guys. So this point was the area we were. So I can right here. This was the equilibrium actually earlier. Now the equilibrium is this part E1. I can show here. So now, actually, what happened? They have increased the level of taxes, though it has been increases. Now you might see the quantity has fallen from here to here because the price has increased from E to E1. The quantity falls from here to here, guys. You know what happened? The price has increased from here to here. So who is paying this price? Buyers are paying this price for the product on the market. So sellers is also having a cost. You see the gap between the cost of buyers to sellers. This gap and the price it was earlier. This down part is known as cost to sellers. Now in your AS level, you will study something called producer surplus, but in your O level, you don't have that. So this chart is not that mandatory for you to remember. Just remember, inelastic demand means cost is high to a buyer, not to the seller. So elastic demand means cost is high to a seller than buyer. Now you see here, when small prices increase, the quantity demand falls in the greater range, so supply is decreasing. Because the quantity is falling in the greater range, it is affecting the suppliers a lot. So the cost should be borne by the suppliers in a great range. I hope I have given you the exact revision on chapter number 5, what a government should do and what has government involved. In a government has like as a producer, as an employer, I taught you government aims. I spoke demand side policies and supply side policies. I gave you a complete revision. Conflicting aims of government. Also, I explained you how it conflicts with the government's competition. Then I thought about types of taxes and all the three types of taxes, direct taxes, what are the advantages and disadvantages of direct taxes. And then I spoke about indirect taxes and the advantages and disadvantages, the regulations, why it is important, and how come it will affect the competition policy in a positive way and a negative way, and subsidies and how subsidies can impact the environment, and what way, why subsidies are important, what type of charge you need to use in subsidy, and we spoke about taxes and how a taxes can increase or decrease in the market. I hope you understood the session well. Okay.